This is a demonstration of the SmartDraft inverse point command, which is an inquiry tool found in the SmartDraft suite, SmartDraft survey, and can be purchased individually. To start the command, we'll go to the inquiry panel on the SmartDraft ribbon. You can select this icon or type PTI at the command prompt. Once you have started the command, you'll notice it turns on dynamic input prompting, if it hasn't already been turned on, to show the inverse results near the crosshairs, as well as the command prompt. The inverse results are also displayed in the status line in the lower left-hand corner of AutoCAD. Let's look at the available input options. A3 indicates an arc by 3 points: the start point, a point along the arc, and the endpoint. ACCW indicates an arc counterclockwise: the start point, the radius point, and the endpoint counterclockwise from the start point. ACW indicates an arc clockwise: the start point, the radius point, and the endpoint clockwise from the start point. L, or line, indicates a line: the start point and the endpoint. Also, there is an options choice to display additional options. In the inverse point options, there are 3 point sources. Select Points is for selecting the points on the screen. This point source can be toggled from the command prompt by typing S. Point Numbers is for entering point numbers that are in the drawing. This point source can be toggled from the command prompt by typing P. Civil 3D Survey Database is for entering point numbers from the currently open survey database. This option is only available if there is an open survey database. This point source can be toggled from the command prompt by typing D. There are 2 inverse point option methods: traverse, to traverse or inverse along a path either open or closed, and radial, to inverse from a base point. When outputting the inverse points information to the command prompt, there are options to adjust the linear precision and angular precision. When inversing along a curve, if you want to display tangent information, check the tangent box. If you want to display the chord information, both bearing and distance, check the chord box. If the points have elevation data and you want to show the percentage of slope between them, check the slope box and set the decimal precision for slope. There is also an option to output the results to a report. If you want an option to save or print the inverse information, check the report box. In this demonstration, we'll have the report option checked, so the inverse report dialog box will appear and we will have an option to save or print the report. I'll begin by inversing around lot 27. The command starts in line mode, and since the point source is set to select points, it prompts the operator to select the starting point. I'll select point 179. It's in line mode, and I'll select the next point, 180. The bearing and distance from point 179 to 180 are displayed near the crosshairs, and a temporary magenta path of the inverse is also displayed. As I inverse around lot 27, the command prompts me to select the next point. I select 184. You'll notice the bearing and distance are displayed for point 180 to 184, plus a running total of all the inversed segments. I select point 182. Again displaying the bearing and distance for point 184 to 182, plus the running total of all 3 segments. I select point 181. The bearing and distance for point 182 to 181 are displayed, plus the running total. Now we encounter an arc. We have to determine the arc input method. Will we use the arc by 3 point, clockwise, or counterclockwise, selecting radius point and endpoint? This arc is clockwise, and we have the radius point, so we'll select ACW or arc clockwise. I select point 87 for the radius point and point 86 for the endpoint. Notice the inverse displays the delta, radius, and the length, not the tangent or chord information since those options were not checked, but it does display the running total. We're still in the clockwise arc input mode, but we have encountered a counterclockwise arc. We can right-click and select ACCW or type ACC to change to the counterclockwise input mode. I select 39 as a radius and 0.179 for the endpoint, which is also the point of beginning. Since we have inversed back to the starting point, the command now knows this is a closed inverse and will display the inverse points report dialog. If this was an open inverse, I could have pressed enter at the next point prompt and the inverse point report dialog would also appear. In the report dialog, you can enter a report name, the author's name. It shows all segments you have inversed, a perimeter value, an area value, because this is a closed inverse. If it was open, this would not be there. For the report, you can change the linear and angular precision different than what was at the display. So here I just changed it to 3 decimal, back to 2. Include or exclude the tangent and chord information in the actual report. Include the slope. I can now print the inverse report to my default Windows printer or save it to a file, which I will do. I give this report lot 26 and 27 traverse. You can see that the report has been created. Select the Save button again if you want to view it quickly. Highlight the file, right-click, and say Open, and you can see the report for lot 27. I'll close that now. And close the dialog box here to return the command prompt. Start the command again and go into Options to demonstrate the radial inverse method. Again, I select 0.179 as my base point. Now randomly, I select points. You see that it has that temporary magenta line for every point I selected, so I know where I have done a radial inverse from my base point. When I'm done collecting radial inverses, I can hit enter. The report dialog box appears. I can either print off this report or save this report to a file like I did when I was inversing around lot 27. Let's close this and do one more demonstration. We'll start the command one more time, this time by typing PTI at the command prompt, going back into Options, changing it back to traverse mode. This time I'll inverse around lot 26, adding all the information to the report created earlier. Looking at the command prompt, you can see source is select. Either by going into the options or by entering point numbers by typing P, I can change the point source to point numbers. Here it says enter starting point number. I type 179. Next, I can type 180 for the next leg. And again, you see the bearing and distance and the temporary magenta line. I can change either by going into options or typing S back to the select mode and select 191. Since we do have a survey database, I can type D, and now I will get the point information from the survey database. I can type in 178 to get the next point number. Again, change to point number, not survey database, and type 177. We encounter a clockwise arc. I can either right-click and pick clockwise. Here it says enter the radius. That radius is 39. And the ending point is 179, which brings us back to the start point, therefore closing the lot 26, and the inverse report command comes up. Again, I'll select tangent and chord, save this off, selecting that previous file, and since it's an existing file, it will append the information, not overwrite it. We can see the information that we put in here, the two lots. This concludes the demonstration of the SmartDraft inverse command. Thank you.